The best way to win an argument. A person convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Dad, my son Alex asked, does wind have velocity? Without thinking of the depth of the question, my quick response was, of course. That's impossible, he said, wind can't have velocity. Yes, it can, and it does. I said, don't we measure wind velocity in storms? Isn't wind speed a regular part of our weather forecasts? But wind itself doesn't have velocity. He persisted. Why then do we have anemometers? I said, if not to measure wind velocity. They just measure the moving air particles, he stated. But isn't wind a compilation of force and air particles moving together? I asked. No, Dad, you're wrong. He said. Wind is just a force, it can't be measured. I don't agree, I said. Wind is a force, and air is made of particles, and it is the force that pushes the particles, so wind doesn't have velocity, but the air particles do. He said. I was starting to feel like we were going in circles until he made that statement. Actually, I was stumped for an answer. It is certainly not something that I had lain awake at night thinking of before, but it was certainly an indication of how curious and deep his young mind really is. Even though he had stumped my thinking, I was very proud of him for his way of thinking. As the silence grew in between his response and my answer, I asked myself if I really had to have an answer to the topic at hand. The information in the way he understood it was absolutely right to him based on his first year of engineering at university and what he had read and studied, and the way I understood the question was right according to me and my knowledge, experience and education. Couldn't I just let it go and leave it be? Did we both have to be right? As I think about it, we were both right, but was Alex more right than I was? There are no absolutes or grades of right or wrong when you are talking conceptually or philosophically, or even when we are voicing opinions. It is strictly an answer or concept based on our experience or level of understanding up to that point. You only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know, and therein lays the problem with most conversations or discussions with differing points of view or knowledge on a certain subject. Based on the level of knowledge or understanding of the subject, both people will have a different answer, and often, the one who is most stubborn or vocal will usually win. But do we have to win? What is winning in this situation? Convincing the other person to take on our views, or presenting the facts, as we understand them, so that we create an understanding in the other person's mind of the way that we understand the subject? Does presenting our information this way make us right or wrong, or does that just make us better communicators? It appears to me that to be wrong is to go against the information that we already understand and do the total opposite of what we should do. If we take an action based on what we consider to be the right information, does that make us wrong? Well, no and yes. No, because how can we be wrong if we don't think we are wrong? And yes, because we may not have the necessary facts to make the correct decision and therefore make a wrong assumption or action that doesn't fit with the way in which things ought to be done in that particular case. The act of voicing opinions can be a very troublesome experience if all we want to do is convince the other person to take on our views. Isn't voicing our opinion simply an act of voicing what we think about a given subject or situation? Do we always have to convince or sell the other person our ideas? Do we always have to be right, if our goal in communicating our opinions to others is simply to create understanding of what it is that we think about the subject? It is in effect guiding us to avoiding a needless argument. Here is a simple formula to use that will do just that. When we voice an opinion, before we start to voice our opinion, first think about these three things. What do I think about the subject at hand? Do I connect with it? Do I have differing thoughts on it? Why do I think that? What kind of background or information do I know that I can use to support my ideas? When we have thought this through, then it will be time to voice what you think. What is your evidence? This evidence shows. Therefore, my opinion is. This week, if you are in a situation where your opinion is called on, follow this simple formula of thinking before speaking when voicing opinions, and when you do, you will find that the fear of getting into an argument will diminish, and you will have more confidence to speak out. Make this your best week ever, Paul.